All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's Millennial Trades. It's January 8th, 2023. Looking at the futures, both the SPY and the Qs are up 0.3%, not even. They're at, I would say, pretty major supply zones. Now, we'll see how this plays out overnight, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. We could blast through these supply zones, but, I'm kind of anticipating perhaps some more bullish momentum. I don't know if I'll call it a rally, but sometimes these bear market rallies are just absolutely wild. I mean, there's people in my comment section speculating that SPY will hit 4,000 before it ever hits 3,500 again. So it's definitely possible. I mean, I could see something like this playing out, and I want to be open-minded to that. But also, we are in supply zones right now. We might have a little bit of a pullback. We'll just have to wait and see what goes down here. I don't want to make this a long one. Honestly, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. It's been a long day. We ran a lot of errands. I was at church all day. After church, politicking in the social hall. So I am just worn out. I'm ready to just kind of read some books tonight, relax. It's going to be raining all evening. Going to be raining all throughout the night. So it's going to be a cozy night. I'll probably make some tea. Make some Earl Grey, some kind of English tea. We actually got a variety tea box from one of our relatives, gave it to us for Christmas, and it's actually really good tea. I was impressed. I've been trying to drink more tea, less coffee, but it's hard. I'm a caffeine addict. What can I say? So I don't want to make this video super long, but you guys know what we're expecting next week. The big event is the CPI, inflation report. I guess it's an inflation report. They call it an inflation report. It's more of a price report, but the consumer price index is coming out. I think that comes out on Thursdays. That will be, there's definitely going to be some opportunity there. And we have indications that inflation is cooling. The projection or the estimates right now is that inflation has slowed to 6.6%. Yes, 6.6% from 7.1%. So that's the headline inflation. The annual rate of inflation, is supposed to come down to 6.6% from 7.1%. Now, the headline month over month should be pretty flat. That's what they're expecting. But if it comes in flat or even comes in lower than flat, which is possible because you had the inflation data from the Eurozone, Germany, and France last week coming down a bit, that could indicate that maybe we'll see a similar scenario with our CPI report. We also have CPI coming out for a few different countries, China, India, Mexico, and Brazil. So lots of inflation data next week coming out. That's going to be big. We also have, the United Kingdom publishing their monthly GDP data. You've got Eurozone unemployment rates coming out next week. So there's definitely some things to pay attention to, especially if you're following these global markets. But I'm going to try not to get too hung up on the news. I want to trade the news and I want to be aware of what's going on. But again, it was like on Friday with my trade, conditions were perfect, not just in the news, but technically speaking, conditions were perfect. And, my trade still didn't work out. So you don't want to put too much emphasis on it. This isn't a science, and it's not, nothing's guaranteed. So I think I was a little overly bullish on my strike price, but we're starting off now the year down about $3,000, maybe $3,500, I think. I've got $3,000 in the account, so we're starting from $3,000 starting on Monday, and we'll see what happens. We're going to see where we can go. My confidence has not faded, and my belief in myself has not faded. And I did a video about this a couple days ago. We actually went to the beach, so if you didn't check that out, go watch that video if you need more content. I also did a live stream. I did a vlog too on the other channel, the live streaming channel. I meant to upload the vlog to this channel and I didn't. I was logged into my other channel, so I was just like, I'll just leave it over there. But we went to the mall, and I'm going to talk about some of the mall closures, the store closures here in this area specifically. The account is going to grow. I think it's going to be great. it was a big, expensive lesson. But what I was going to say is I've been listening to reminiscences of a stockbroker, I think is what it's called. But it's by this guy, Jesse Livermore, the stock trader from like the 20s and 30s. And it's just a very interesting story, you know. But he talks about, you know, there's no bigger lesson than like losing everything in the world to learn what not to do, and then you start, you know, learning what to do. I made a lot of mistakes last week. I was definitely too greedy. I was definitely too prideful. I was definitely trading too big. I was holding and averaging down on losses when you know, I should have been focused on preserving capital, right? And I wasn't, because I'm, you know, up so much the past couple of months. I was like, I'm just going to go for it, you know, and try to completely just double, triple the account. And that was a crazy thing to think. Not that, you know, big opportunities aren't going to be coming up, because I think it's possible that the biggest trades of my life are just weeks, months away, if not days away. So I want to be open-minded to that. But some of the commenters, you know, they're saying, oh, it's all gambling. You know, you're just gambling. You have no idea what direction it's going to move or how the options are going to move. And it's really not. I mean, there's an amount of speculation to all of this. I'm definitely a speculator, you know, when it comes to trading, scalping, you know, doing these swing trades, these CPI trades, non-farm payroll pays. It's all speculation. But it's not gambling, you know, because there is, I have my system and I have my strategy, and I just didn't stick to that. You know, that's the problem is not my strategy, you know, long term. The problem was I had a moment of weakness. You know, I got caught in the hopium. It's a psychological weakness. So I need to rid that from my trading, obviously. There's a lot of things I need to rid from my trading, and I think most people can you know, relate to that. Somebody on my live streaming channel commented that, you know, they had made like, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the 2020, 2021 bull market, and that they lost $400,000 trying to, you know, trade options. You know, that sounds, I can't imagine, you know, I'm trying to, when I hear stories like that, it kind of puts my little few thousand into perspective, you know. And I'm reading like this book, Too Big to Fail, right? Even the biggest bankers, the biggest banks, the biggest institutions, the biggest hedge funds, they have, you know, 40% drawdowns some quarters, 60% drawdowns some quarters. Some of them went bankrupt. Some of them got bought out. You know, and these are supposed to be like the best of the best. These people are supposed to know what the heck they're doing. I don't want to get too much on a side note here from what I want to talk about in this video, but again, guys, so many connections between the state, the banking industry. I mean, I could go on and on and on here, but like Mayor Bloomberg, you know, long associations with Merrill Lynch, and obviously Mayor Bloomberg went on to, you know, create the Bloomberg media empire. So many connections here, guys. You know, you've got a woman named Margaret Tutwiler, a former State Department spokesperson in the George H.W. Bush administration. Like, so many connections between the Bush family and you know, banking, the Treasury. It's all like one club. This book completely lays it out, and I can't wait to do like an entire sort of video analysis about this book. That is going to be great. But I'm still making it through this, right? We're on page 149, and I'm marking this up like I'm retarded or something. I mean, I got so many annotations in this book. It is ridiculous, but I'm definitely enjoying that. Got a couple other books here too I'll talk about towards the end. They're more spiritually oriented books, but you know, I'd be doing you guys a disservice if I didn't talk about you know, that aspect of our lives. We have to sort of focus on our eternity as well, not just our financial, you know, monetary possessions here on earth. Yeah, oil closing the week 8% lower. So that's a pretty big deal, right? We'll see what happens with commodities here. Silver was under some pressure the last couple of days. Gold is almost at $1,900 now. We're at $1,868. It was up $33 the other day. So a couple of headlines here I just kind of want to go over real quick. I thought they were interesting, and I thought it really kind of these headlines to me, they sort of articulate the state of our economy, the state of our nation, really. You have the Home Depot co-founder saying that the rise of socialism is making people too lazy, too fat, and too stupid to work. Here, and then they go on to say, here are 4 stocks to capitalize on that trend. But yeah, this guy, the Home Depot co-founder, let's see, Bernie Marcus is his name. He says nobody gives a damn, right? And that the rise of socialism is making people too lazy, too fat, and too stupid to work. He's 93 years old, so this guy is old school. He says nobody works, nobody gives a damn, right? These are all his quotes. Just give it to me. Send me money. I don't want to work. I'm too lazy. I'm too fat. I'm too stupid. To a certain extent, I think that is true, but I think another part of this is that you don't get anywhere. You could work. We almost kind of live in that socialist, industrialized world. We're moving into that where despite your best efforts, you could be the best worker at your job. You're still going to get paid and I experienced this myself. You're still going to get paid as much as the laziest motherfucker on the payroll. And, sometimes they'll actually, at the warehouse that I was working at, they were bringing new people in for a higher wage than what, like if you came in a year ago, and people are coming in, right now, they're going to get paid like 25 cents or 50 cents more than you just because they came in later, and it's this is the world that we live in, right? And so people don't want to work because it's a rat race. It is it's a trap, right? It really is a trap. I think there's a lot of mechanisms they have, the wages, the mortgages, the CD bank accounts, all this kind of stuff it's goofball stuff, right? It's like Dave Ramsey mythology, oh yeah, just put $50 a month away in mutual funds in 45 years, you'll be a millionaire. Like, who's got that kind of time, honestly? So this is why people don't want to work. But I also think because of there's probably some truth to that, these socialist policies. Like, I was thinking about this at church, actually. I mean, I don't know why the thought came to me at church when I was in choir, but it did, because I'm always ruminating on this stuff. But think about it. I mean, especially for a lot of men out there, a lot of single men out there, your taxes, you're working, and they're taxing your hours, your wages, and a lot of the times they're redistributing that, to God knows where, God knows who. But we know about this is why we have such an issue at our borders, because same thing with Europe. The welfare benefits are so sweet in the West. The rest of the world wants to come here and get a piece of that. So as a worker, as an American worker, why would you want to spend 60 hours a week somewhere that you hate to fund that, to fund the socialist system? I'd rather try to trade, enjoy the rest of my day. Yeah, I'm going to be taxed at a higher rate on these short-term capital gains. I mean, but it's better than spending 60 hours a week driving a forklift, or bagging groceries, or serving tables, or building roads, whatever it is that people do. I just don't know, how do these people survive? I mean, even if you're making $22 an hour, $25 an hour, it's like it's all capped. And I become a little bit jaded too, because I'll be up sometimes, let's say $400, $500, and I'll think it's not enough, and sometimes you can squeeze more out of the stock, but a lot of the times that profit, and you just watch it sort of go away, and then you end up in the red. And I'm trying to think more. I think the Trade War channel talked about this. I'm trying to think more like moving forward with my gains. I want to start thinking about in terms of how much food can I buy with this money. Because making $500, $600, within 30 minutes of trading, 20 minutes of trading, whatever. Sometimes I'm in these trades for like 10 minutes. That is a substantial income. That's a substantial amount of money. if I could make 4, 5, 6,000 in 1 month, I mean, that's pretty substantial stuff, especially, considering the fact that there's no services rendered. So I got to sort of rid that out too. The greed, the jadedness. But I'm not completely jaded, because I know full well that you could potentially blow up everything you have and end up back at the poorhouse. I mean, a figure of speech, but there's a lot of ways that this could end really badly. All right. And I promise I will never Jesse Livermore myself, but his story is very interesting. He lost several fortunes, made them back. This stuff is so exciting. I just love thinking about it. I love talking about it. It's good stuff. But yeah, I mean, at least Home Depot's co-founder, Bernie Marcus, is speaking out sort of against the socialist policies, and it is kind of leading to a lazy, fat, stupid, not even a workforce, just I mean, this is, I think, a big reason responsible people do not want to work, is because it's like, well, you have to pay into this whole system. You got to pay for, chain smokers and McDonald's eaters when their hearts fail or their whatever. You got to pay for this. You got to pay for, people that are irresponsible and have children out of wedlock. You got to pay for this. You got to pay for these new people in El Paso. I mean, it just never ends. You got to pay for Ukraine. Who wants to go into the workforce knowing that they're taxing you at very high rates? You're being taxed on your income. You're being taxed on your property. If you own a car, you're being punished because you own a car. You're already paying taxes that are supposed to go to the roads, but because you own a car, you get punished. Okay? If you don't have a car, you don't get punished. But if you have a car, they're going to punish you and tax you on it. Just little things like this. The sales tax. It's ridiculous. So do American workers, do Americans that truly, can visualize a future for themselves, do they want to go into the workforce realizing that there's a huge drag on this economy with the welfare system? No, I think most Americans do not want to. They want to participate in that only if, they're going to be able to live it'd be one thing if we were living great lives, but America's standard of living is declining. Another reason for that is because we're exporting the middle class to other countries. I'm not going to get into that right now, but that's like one of our main exports, and people don't we don't really talk about it. We don't think about it much, but exporting the middle class to other countries, and even bringing these countries in here to participate in the so-called middle class, which, obviously they're trying to build a two-tiered system. They're attacking the wages. What heritage American is going to want to play that game, that rigged game that you just can't win? Here's another headline here. JP Morgan's chief U.S. economist warns of job losses and higher unemployment ahead. We are expecting the economy to slip into recession. And this does go along with what the Fed has said they want to see. The Fed wants to see unemployment back up at 5%. And, the job losses, again, the unemployment number that came in on Friday with the non-farms being lower, it's hard to believe that, knowing about the tens of thousands of jobs that are being lost, not just in tech, but in retail. I mean, so many things are closing down. I'll sort of tie this in with the vlog that I did today. I was actually out at the mall with my brother. We went to a used bookstore, and then we decided, well, hey, let's go to Barnes & Noble's, because I hadn't been to Barnes & Noble's in forever. And so we went to Barnes & Noble's. It was closed permanently, okay? Andrew sent me this other article about Urban Outfitters in downtown Norfolk. After only 10 years of business, they are closing their stores. And, this, I believe, is the result of this recession that we're seeing. These legacy stores, people are they're not going to them anymore. I mean, the mall, there were people there, but there's definitely something different. The malls are going to die. I mean, in my hometown of Syracuse, New York, Shoppingtown Mall is completely abandoned. There's literally trees growing in the middle of it. The Destiny USA Mall in Syracuse is like billions of dollars in debt, and they're on their way out. All of these different retail stores, restaurants as well. I read about a restaurant called Kirby's in the suburb where I grew up, in Manlius. Every once in a while I'll check up on my whole hometown. That Kirby's that restaurant had been open for 40 years, and they had to close in October of last year, 2022. And they said that after COVID, they couldn't get people to work, they couldn't get people to stay, they couldn't, the guests just didn't come in anymore. So the recession that was already going on before COVID, but also the COVID lockdowns, just everything that we saw. We are going to see a very long sort of whiplash effect of all of that. This is going to take, shouldn't call it a whiplash. This is going to take, it could take up to a decade, before, you got to consider that, right? It's happened before in the United States. It's rare. 80% of the time the S&P 500 rallies after a year this bad. But this could be the year where it's different. I see everybody on CNBC talking about this. We need to be prepared for the possibility that we're going to be in recession for a decade, if not longer. I certainly hope that's not the case, but I would not count on this like recovery, whatever Biden wants to call it, build back better, or whatever the Fed says, we can start lowering interest rates in 2024. I mean, we're in this for the long haul. They're not even talking about lowering these interest rates until at least 2024, which is a good year away now. And who knows, they could, at these Fed meetings, they're talking about, they're at least being asked, they're being questioned about, could the Fed raise the inflation targets and what that would mean. So, the economy, I don't think, is in a great state. I think a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are hurting. A lot of people are unhappy. There's strikes on both sides of the pond. We almost had a railroad shut down. They're going to want that 2 weeks paid sick leave. They're coming back for it. It's just a matter of time before we, start seeing that kind of stuff pop back up in the news. And one can only speculate where this is going to go. But, for all the people out there that are maybe discouraged by trading or have lost a lot of money the past year in trading, for all the people that have lost money trading options, you have to realize that a lot of this stuff is our psychology. The market didn't do it to us. The options didn't do it. We did it. We traded. We held the trade. We didn't sell the trade, whatever it was. Especially with the options. I mean, if you know when to buy them, at the right moment, and if you can sort of determine when you need to sell, you can make incredible profits. I mean, I've done it. I'm still doing it. Yes, I'm down on my last trade, but you can't win them all. You make mistakes, and even the greats like Jesse Livermore, they made millions of dollars, lost it all, filed for bankruptcy, made it all back, lost it again. Unfortunately for Jesse Livermore, at I think like the age of 65 or something, he lost his fortune again, and it was just too much for him. He was too ashamed, and he went kind of classically in that post Great Depression, like crash in 1929. He sort of just went up into a Manhattan hotel room and unfortunately did the satanic deed up there, but left a note for his wife. It's a pretty tragic story, but it's a very interesting story. Jesse Livermore, you guys should look into this guy. Fascinating story. He actually at one point was taking a boat from his Long Island home into Manhattan every morning. Absolutely crazy. And some of these guys, I mean, in Too Big to Fail, some of these guys, some of these guys at Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch, the way they flaunted their wealth, flying helicopters into work, and some of them, I think it was whoever was running BlackRock before, I think it was before Larry Fink. I might be misquoting this, but there was a firm in this book where I'm pretty sure it was Fink that changed this. I might be wrong about that, but there was a firm where the CEO took his own elevator every single day up to the floor where he worked at, And they just had to cut costs. So they got a new CEO or whatever, and they had to cut costs because that was ridiculous. So the CEO started riding the elevator with everybody else. But the expenses that some of these firms had, and a lot of them went under, and the bad investments that they made. Even the best, most brightest people in the world, the elite, the royal American families, even they lose tons of money, all right? And so it happens to the best of them, right? But this is to me, it's like the most interesting game to be in. This is the most fascinating pursuit. I mean, I am filled with endless amounts of energy. When I go to follow this stuff, when I go to read about this, when I go to look at my charts, when I take my trades, when I take my wins, when I take my losses, getting involved in finance and economics, this is really the best show on earth. This is where it's at. And hearing all the stories from you guys, I mean, people telling me about losing $10,000 or, like I said, that one lady said she lost $400,000 in 2022, mostly from the options expiring worthless. I'd like to get more details about that trade, because how do you lose $400,000? But some people are going to say, how do you lose $6,000? So, I mean, I get it. It doesn't matter what level you're at. There's a couple of high net worth individuals that watch my channel, and some of them have kind of revealed themselves to me on other platforms or whatever. But I think in some way, like, it doesn't really matter what financial level you're at, monetarily speaking. We could all kind of relate, especially if we're pursuing this, and we can all relate to the wins. We can relate to the losses. We can relate to the temptations and the blessings, And speaking of blessings, I'll end the video on this note, because we are almost at 30 minutes. I know I said I was going to keep this short. I'm a yacker. What can I say, guys? I am a yacker. So I went to a used bookstore today. Every time I go to this used bookstore, I'm always looking for this, and it's never there, right? They have 3 locations in Norfolk. But I finally found a copy of the Orthodox Study Bible, right? It's got some beautiful icons. Oh, let me show you the Mother of God icon. I mean, this is just gorgeous. Where is it here? Oh, I just lost it. Beautiful Bible, though. I mean, yeah, look at the Theotokos, the Panagia with the baby Jesus, the God bearer with her son. I mean, this book is priceless. Priceless. I spent $25 on it. It was a $25 Bible. But I mean, it's beautiful. And it's got a lot of notes. It's Old Testament and New Testament. Us Greeks, Hellenic, Orthodox Christians, we love the Old Testament. We love Psalms. But it's got different notes. And so I was reading the New International Version, which is a good version. I like it. It's in plain English. But this one, I'm going to switch and just read this for now and sort of annotate it. Another book that I highly recommend is called Holy Rus, The Rebirth of Orthodoxy in New Russia. This is a beautiful book, and he really gets into the history of the persecutions, in the 1920s, 30s, 40s under Soviet Union, under the Marxists. He even has a mug shot of one of the. I mean, this picture right here, that's haunting. Absolutely haunting. That was a bishop, Bishop Seraphim Chigogov, something like that. I'm not sure how to pronounce some of these Russian names. But Bishop Seraphim, shortly before his execution, and they were literally rounding these people up, the Orthodox Christians in Russia, and just murdering them. And what a lot of people don't understand is Putin it has been very influential in bringing a resurgence of the Orthodox Church and sort of reestablishing its prominence in Russia. He was actually baptized only because his grandmother imposed it. Right, his parents had, I guess, become more secularized because of the communists, and his grandmother had him baptized Russian Orthodox. But it's just a beautiful tale of a country that, in a lot of ways is there's a lot of propaganda against the country, but also the country has been, especially from the fall of the Soviet Union, they were pretty much economically raped by the West. and so it's obvious why there's some tensions there between the West, between NATO, between Russia, between Putin and America. I mean, Trump is the only president in recent history. Well, George Bush tried to make friends with Putin too. Actually, it was George Bush that said he looked into Putin's eyes and saw his soul. Only Bush would say something like that. But, Trump wants to be friends with Russia, said, wouldn't it be great if we got along with Russia? And, what happened to the Russian royal family, the Tsar and his family? They're actually depicted in some of these newer icons. They're actually in the center. They're not canonized as saints, but they're canonized as... the Russian royal family is canonized as there's some other status. They're not quite saints. Because they did some weird things. They invited that weirdo Rasputin around, and he was denounced by the church, I believe. But what happened to the royal family? I mean, it's just awful. It's unspeakable, really. What the crimes that the Marxists, the Leninists, the Stalinists, the Soviets, the communists, the globalists, the cosmopolitans, the rootless. It is just It's terrible, unfathomable what they did to a lot of these people. And there were thousands upon thousands of martyrs that were created as a result of this. But that's something else I'm reading, because with everything that's going on in the world, it's hard to get unbiased information. And this is written not by an Orthodox. It's written by John P. Burgess, who is a Calvinist Protestant in America. And he has his own Protestant thinking, and there's some things in here I think are a little bit of, kind of liberal propaganda. But he takes a very empathetic view of Russia. And I really do think he gives Russia a fair shot in this book. He lived there. He studied there. I think he gives Russia a fair shot, even though it's not biased. But reading books about what happened in Russia over the last century, you realize just how close we are, to a situation like that. I mean, they literally closed the churches down for almost an entire year. Wanted us to wear masks to cover up the image of God in God's holy house. Forcing people into medical decisions that I don't think most people... How did my camera get over there? All right, so... reading books about Russia, I'm fascinated on the topic, especially Orthodox Russia and the resurgence of Orthodoxy in Russia, because in the West, we just don't have anything like that. We're decaying from secularization, unfortunately. But I guess that's a topic for another video, probably a topic for another channel, but I wanted to include it here. Thank you guys for supporting my commentary. Thank you for watching the channel. I hope you, continue to enjoy these videos. I think these topics are important, and I think we're making connections over here that are not made on other channels. And that's because of you guys throwing out the suggestions, throwing out the ideas, letting me know what's going on with your investments, with your trades. It fuels my fire. All of it just fuels this channel. So with that, I will leave it there. Follow me on Instagram @MillennialTrades. And as always, until next time, I'll see you on the next video.